This is Hannibal here from thehannibaltv.com, and my guest tonight is none other than former WWE and WCW star, two-time WWE Tag Team Champion, Slammy Award winner, Henry Godwin, aka Shanghai Pierce. How are you doing today, sir?
Good, Hannibal. How you doing tonight, bud?
Oh, very good. Where are you guys tonight?
We are in Blacksburg, Virginia, where Virginia Tech is, the Hokies.
Okay. Where are you living these days?
I'm about an hour from here in West Virginia.
Okay.
Got 10 acres, raising hogs, living the gimmick, man.
Oh, so the gimmick was an element of real life.
Yeah, grew up that way.
Wow. Okay, well, maybe you could start by telling us what your childhood was like a little bit.
Well, I lived in Northern Virginia, Arlington, Virginia. Uh, Grew up there, had the best of both worlds, lived in the suburbs of DC, Arlington, Virginia. But my family was all from West Virginia. Grandparents were all farmers. So I had the best of both worlds. I would go down there, hunt, fish, ride motorcycles, horses, did the whole thing. But then go back home, have the suburbs, city. But I love the country.
Did you play any sports growing up at all?
I was in sports from started football 6 years old, played up until my senior graduated, had a scholarship to this school and didn't take it, had a scholarship to WVU, didn't take that, got married, had kids, started working. I was all state, all Southern in football. I loved football, but didn't like school. So I started being a working man.
How far do you think you would have made it in football had you continued on?
Well, Jim Ross did a podcast not too long ago, and he said I would have been a hell of a lineman. So I was being approached by a lot of schools, but wanting to stay close to home. I was looking at Tech and WVU, but I heard from a lot of schools out west, UCLA. I got letters from UCLA, Tennessee, but ended up not going anywhere.
What was your strength like in those days? Were you doing a lot of weight in the gym?
Yeah, did a lot of training. When I was working at a hospital in Princeton, West Virginia. And up there, I met George South, an Italian stallion, and that's who trained me. That's how I got my start. Met them at a gym up there. So that's how I got my start with them.
What would have been your best ever bench press, squat, and deadlift?
The bench was 465. Squat was 4.25. Deadlift was 520, I think, 525.
Were you always a wrestling fan growing up?
Always, from 5 years old on. Tried to break into business when I was about 20 with a promoter in Virginia, Sandy Scott, but that didn't work out. I'd never really give up, but when I met George South, an Italian stallion, then things started taking off. Worked for them for a couple of years, started going down WCW, being an extra. How I got my start there, I worked Eric Watts one night, one of his TV matches, and Dusty and Cowboy Bill Watts was booking at the time. They were running the show down there, and they said, "We want you to go on the road and work this week with Eric. You had such a good match." So I just thought I was going to do TV that night. I just had my gear, what I wore. Arn Anderson is giving me clothes to wear, and Italian Stallion, give me some Zubas, and got some shirts. And so here I am on the road with Arn Anderson, riding with Arn. So it was a little overwhelming for an old country boy.
Was the training itself to become a wrestler hard for you?
It wasn't, because being athletic my whole life, I wrestled in high school, placed 10th in the state of Virginia my junior year, and then we moved to West Virginia, and the little school I went to in West Virginia, they didn't even know they had wrestling in high school. So, yeah, I loved the sports. I played baseball for 10 years growing up, pitched, won the 15-year-old championship in Arlington, Virginia. So sports was always a big part of my life. My parents didn't force me. They wanted me to play sports, and I wanted to. So they always enjoyed it as much as I did. My parents were very supportive.
So what was it like traveling with Arn Anderson?
Scary. Actually, I drove with Arn for a couple of days, and then they put me in a car with Harley Race was driving. Me and Barbarian were in the back seat, and Hercules Hernandez was in the front seat. So there's 100 years of wrestling experience, and I've been doing it 4 years, and I'm in the back seat, and all these guys are around me. And Harley was always a good guy. He was always good to me. And he said, "Kid, when you hear this can crush, I want to hear it." So I caught on real quick that I was supposed to keep him beers coming. So, but yeah, I went out with them three that night. We had went and ate and went to a club, drank, rooming with Barbarian. So it was a little scary for the country boy.
Did you ever see Barbarian in action in one of his bar fights, or had he calmed down by that point?
He had started calming down. He told me the story about the one in California where the cops came and maced him, and he was eating the mace, and there was like 8 of them, and they couldn't do nothing with him. That was always one of my favorite stories. But I was with Barbie maybe 6 months ago at a signing in Hickory, North Carolina. And I was telling him about the first night we roomed together. He dipped Copenhagen. So we woke up the next morning, and he was still asleep. And I looked over, and his pillow was red. So I freaked out. I thought something had happened to him, but his skull had all come out on his pillow, his Copenhagen. And so we were talking about that last time we were together.
When did they actually decide that they were going to give you a gimmick and actually start using you as a regular wrestler?
It was soon after I went on the road to work with Eric. That time they bought Dennis Knight up, Tex, and Barry Windham and Dusty had come up with we were talking about that earlier, the Tex and Shanghai gimmick. That come from an old Western, the gunfight at the OK Corral. They were both, Tex Slazenger and Shanghai Pierce were Texas cattlemen or something, but that's how Dusty, it was one of Dusty's favorite movies. So that's how we became that tag team.
What's the story that they thought you were too good looking to wrestle without a mask?
Dusty said I had a baby face, which probably you can't tell now, but back then I guess I did have a baby face. And he said Tex was ugly enough. So he put me in the mask. And of course, after a couple of years, Johnny B. Bad took the mask off there at center stage one night at TV.
Now, Eric Watts had a lot of heat because Bill Watts was his father. How did you find Eric overall, and how did you find Bill?
Bill was that old school tough, hard nosed. Eric was a delight. You know, he was fun to work. Had some good times. Worked him later on up in WWF. Him and I can't remember the guy's name, but they did the Techno 2000 that lasted for a little bit. But yeah, I always got along good with Eric, and he had it hard from some of the boys just because his dad was, you know, the man at the time.
Were you there for that story with Eric Watts and Rick Rude that some people tell where they had an amateur wrestling match in the dressing room?
I remember hearing about it, but I don't think I was there that night.
Did you know Rick Rude at all?
Very well. Went out with Rick a lot.
What was he like?
He was fun to be around. He was he was a great guy. Hard nosed, tough, Popeye forearms. His dad was the same way. When I was living in Tennessee and Pigeon Forge, Rude and his family would come there and vacate. So me and him would work out together at the gym when he would come in. So I got to see him away from wrestling. So that was nice. You know, we'd go work out, grab something to eat, and then I'd see him maybe the next year. I think we did that a couple of times.
Did you know Steve Austin at all back then before he became big?
When we were in WCW, me and Tex were like social butterflies. I mean, we were together all the time. And I was talking tonight about how the other tag teams, none of them got along. They used to tease us because we did get along. Me and Phineas, since 1992, never had a crossword between us, and we've been there for each other and been through a lot. But yeah, it's a good experience.
Did you ever expect that Austin would become the star that he ended up becoming?
Not really, because you know they were doing the Hollywood Blondes and WCW, but I know I was going to say we used to go out to Steve's house and cook out when we were living in Marietta. He was a little south of Atlanta, so we'd go down. Dustin and Marlena, we'd go to their house. Dusty would come over. We'd cook out, spend the evening. We had good times with. Did that with Jody Hamilton too.
I heard that Harley Race would do that too when you guys came to Kansas City.
Yeah, lots of good food. Harley was a river in WCW. He used to have one of the tasers. He got me in the shower one night and was threatening to do the water, and he would get people, somebody'd be standing watching the match, and he'd say he would put that thing through the curtain and zap him. He got a bunch of us with that zapper.
Yeah, nowadays he'd be banned from wrestling with how everybody is these days.
Oh, hell, none of us would have a job.
How was the pay in WCW?
It was horrible. We worked our asses off in WCW, and even Arn was sort of glad when we got let go. He said, "You guys are too good at making other people look good." So when I went to WWF, it was a little bit more realistic. I felt better, more calm there. Felt like it was going to be a better opportunity, and it was.
Did they recruit you right after you were released?
Yeah. Matter of fact, Harley Race and Kevin Nash spoke for me. And in 4 weeks, I had a meeting with Vince and J.J. Dillon, and 3-hour meeting, and we come to a conclusion, and that's how Henry Godwin was started that day.
Did they not have any interest in Phineas at that time?
Yeah, but he had some stuff he had to work out, and that's why he was about a year behind me. And but it was worth the wait. glad he finally got up there. We picked up right where we left off, and things were good. We had a good run, and unfortunately, I had the broken neck. It sort of ruined that, but that's life.
When they first brought you in as a singles wrestler, did they make any promises to you as far as what type of push you were going to get? Because it seemed like they gave you a pretty good push there.
Yeah, no, but what we were talking about tonight earlier is, I got to work with some key people, and they spoke up for me too. And two of them was Kevin Nash and Undertaker. I worked Taker. We had a hell of a match one night on Raw, and he come back and thanked me and said, we're going to do some more stuff together. And I started riding with him and Paul, and then, Yoko and Rikishi, and then Godfather came, and Tex came, and Savio, and that's how the BSK started.
Yeah, that's the Bone Street Krew. What does that stand for?
We used to play dominoes to kill time. So one night we were going in this club, and we walk in, and Yoko yells, BSK in the house, bitches. And that's how it all started.
So I guess you got along with the Undertaker right away then.
Right away. Yeah, him and Paul. And, I was riding with Double J up there and Road Dogg. And then I started riding with Taker and Paul. And I was like, it was great riding with them. Yeah, we had some good times. And everybody in the BSK just clicked. I mean, it was perfect.
So you guys would hang out backstage, and when you would go out partying, you'd go out together pretty much.
Yeah, me and Tex, when I roomed with Yoko a lot because I drove him, around a lot, and we spent a lot of time together. And then Phineas came up, and of course, me and Phineas always roomed together. Hell, if we do a signing now, we only get one room just so we can spend time together, tell old stories.
There's a fan on here that wants to know who won the most at dominoes.
Probably Yoko, Godfather.
And someone else wants to know how much money would BSK drop at a strip club. I can't see you guys buying too many dances.
No, didn't have to buy too many dances. Bought a lot of drinks. But that was our thing. We tried to go out to clubs. But, when you go out to them big, especially like a Western club, country Western club, you get people that want to drink in that courage and want to test you. So when we're done working, we want to go chill. So Taker would take us to the strip clubs. We knew all of them and knew everybody, same city, same club. So we felt at home there, like we weren't threatened, and we could just relax and get our backs in the corner and just watch the show.
Since I live pretty close to Quebec, I find the strip clubs there are pretty good. What did you think about Quebec strip clubs?
Loved them. Montreal was probably my favorite.
Yeah, there's probably multiple reasons for that, I imagine.
Yeah, I got pictures at home of me and Paul Bear at the Gold Club in Montreal.
Oh, wow. How were I don't know if you were married the whole time or not, maybe you just witnessed it, but how were the groupies in WWE compared to WCW?
Shoo, WCW, there was some hardcore groupies in WCW. And then after I got to WWF, it started fizzing out a little bit. But wow, the early 90s was crazy.
Now, you had the $1 Million Man as your manager at first. How did you like that situation?
That was fun, but we didn't see eye to eye, and he got slopped 3 times. So Vince started having to buy. I think Vince bought the last two suits.
What did you think about all this controversy he's involved with these days? Have you heard about it? This whole misappropriation of funds for the needy that went to his church, and now he has to pay back $700,000 or something.
I just heard that the other day. I didn't know what was going on, but I love Ted, so I hope he gets that straightened out.
You also worked with Psycho Sid when you were in that group. What did you think of him?
That was a hard match. I like Sid, but damn, it was a struggle. But good guy, strong.
And of course, your feud with Triple H, everybody remembers.
That was a walk in the park. You know, me and Hunter, we were together in WCW, and we had so much fun doing the build up to the Hog Pen match, and so many good matches in overseas with him. And he was a trooper because he took the slop every night. I mean, we had to wash our gear every night, and bless his heart, he made it through it, but it was sloppy.
And I saw that Hog Pen match, and it looked like his back got all cut up. What are your memories of that match?
Well, you know, today is 26 years to the day that we had the Hog Pen match. They just put it on, WWE put our match out, portion of it out on Instagram, the WWE network. So it's, and then I had this to do tonight. So it was sort of ironic the same day. And, but I was telling him earlier that, you know, Vince come up with the match and what he wanted, and we had to they had to come in and build the Hog Pen, and then they got a farmer to bring hogs in, and he said, this is what I want, this is how long, you guys come up with it. So, you know, me and Hunter had just been up there together not too long. We came in about the same time, and we were like, well, I hope we can pull this off. So at the end of the match, when we got back to the locker room, Vince was waiting on us in his office, and he said, I cannot believe you guys done that. That was a hell of a match. And, of course, it went to the Slammies that year. And all the boys thought it was going to be a ha-ha match, you know, just shits and giggles. But we beat the piss out of each other. I was sore for 2 days. And I threw him into the metal. He threw me into the metal gate, just a panel gate, cheap gate. But when I hit it, I was 3 1/4. It buckled. So it left a sharp edge. So when I threw him into the gate, he hit the sharp edge. He got 15 stitches. And I didn't know he was cut till I was throwing hog shit on him after the press. So we were afraid he was going to come up with some new swine disease or something. But he made it through it, got 15 stitches. I always tease him, tell him I scarred him for life. So it's all good.
I guess your neck injury would have been the worst injury you ever got.
Yeah, that and Doink knocked my teeth out in California. So
now, which Doink was that? Because there's about 500 different ones.
Yeah, I guess. What's the last one? Oh my God, I can't think of his name. Not Matt Bourne.
It wasn't Matt Bourne. Okay, Ray Apollo, maybe.
Yeah, Ray. That's who. I was doing the slop drop. He turned on me in midair, which drawed our heads together, and he knocked my teeth out, and he got 8 stitches right there across his eye that night. That was in California. The first night of the tour. I had 3 more nights to do that. So had a tooth through my lip, mouth all swollen. I just pulled this one out. It was dangling. 3 more nights I wrestled like that. So that's how hard we were back then. I bet they wouldn't do that now.
No. It's a sad thing what's happened, unfortunately, to wrestling. I wouldn't expect that from Doink, though.
Yeah.
Bob Cook is apparently watching on here, so there's a bunch of people that want me to ask you if you remember Bob Cook at all from WCW.
I love Bob Cook. I'll tell a quick story. And Bob knows this. When they offered me the job, they were planning on putting me and Bob Cook together. And I don't know why they didn't, but they brought Phineas in and put us together. But the first I heard was going to be me and Bob Cook, and we were both going to be under hoods.
In
So, hey, Bob.
WCW. That's very interesting. I had no idea.
WCW, yep.
Because he would have gone well with the hog farmer gimmick too.
Yeah.
He wears those cowboy boots all the time. Someone on here is asking if Shanghai Pierce's name was supposed to be Chinese or how that name came about.
No, it's I'm telling you, if you watch that movie, the gunfight at the OK Corral, there is a Texas guy in there. His name is Shanghai Pierce. And there is a Tex Slazenger too. And like I say, that's how Dusty loved the old Western. So that's how, and Barry Windham was in on that. And that's how they come up with that.
So I guess sometime after the Hog Pen match, they decided to turn you face and put you in a tag team. What did you think about that? Because it seemed like you were mostly a heel in your career before that.
Yeah, like in WCW, we were the heels. And then when I got to WWF, it was, and Tex got up there, we were baby faces. So it was nice to go back to the heel. We took the shirts off and we just had the overalls on and we were doing the heel thing. And it was fun, but the broken neck sort of took us out of that.
Now, Hillbilly Jim is in the top 5 nicest wrestlers I've ever met, maybe top 3. How did you like having him with you?
Loved it. Just big, goofy country boy like we were. So it was like the Three Stooges when we got together anyway. But Hillbilly was great for us. And, he did all the talking for us. But it was fun. It was like getting under the learning tree with him. It was good.
Bob says the reason that never happened is because he hurt his knees and had to have surgery. And Barry Windham had also told him that same story, and he's proud of you and everything you accomplished.
Well, I appreciate it. I love Bob, and we were pretty tight back then. I haven't seen him in a long time, but if I get down to Florida, we're going to get together, Bob.
As far as Hillbilly Jim, was he on the house shows with you guys too, or was he just there for television?
He was I think he was at a few of the house shows, most of them. I'm thinking, but he was at all TVs. Of course, he was working for Coliseum Home Video, so he was pretty busy back then. But he was always at the TVs, and we did interviews, and we did a lot of that together.
Of course, you feuded with the Body Donna. Is any memories of that feud and working with Sunny?
Yeah, loved working with Chris and Dr. Tom. Liked working with Sunny, but she could be difficult at times. We had a few, butt heads, but it turned out all right.
What did you think of her whole relationship with Chris? Because I guess it was during that time, that she was having that affair with Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, that was a sad situation because Chris would be looking for her and she'd be gone and Shawn would be gone. But yeah, everybody knew what was going on. So, felt sort of bad for Chris.
Did you have any issues with the Clique, or were you pretty protected being with the Undertaker's BSK group?
But I didn't have any troubles with anybody. There was supposed to be people try to make it out like, we hated each other. But I know a few nights we all ended up at the same strip club together. So it was nothing like that. It was just, they did their thing, we did ours, and sometimes we did it together, but mostly it was just, the BSK was, we were a family, we thought, and going to Yoko's house and spending the weekend and being on the road, and been to Godfather's house, stayed at Taker's house 2 or 3 times, and me and Phineas went home with Sean one weekend and spent with it at San Antonio at his house. Sean had the nice gym in his house. We got up and ate breakfast and worked out. Used to spend a lot of time with Kevin Nash in WCW. He lived a floor above us in Marietta, him and his wife. So I have to tell a story on Kevin. They had one of them little ankle biter dogs, and his wife would make him take the dog out at night. So he would come by and see us and say, "Hey, what are you guys doing?" And Tex would have some good smoke from Tampa. And we would get high, and Kevin would go back up and forget to take the dog out, and he'd get back up with his wife, and the dog would use the bathroom. So he got busted a couple of times doing that, but we had a good time with Kevin. Sid lived beside us for about 6 months too.
Wow, that must have been quite the building.
Yeah, Max Payne was there. So we had Road Dogg spent a lot of time with us at our apartment. Barry Windham lived with us on and off here and there. So we had a lot of company there.
There's quite a few fans on here that want to know if you have any Yokozuna stories or Yokozuna eating stories.
Oh, Yoko, so many good stories. He was a big eater. I'm telling you, we had some good food out there at that Samoan food at California at Yoko's house. Good food, great family. Rakishi, Fatu would come over, and the whole clan was out there. It was nice. We had a good time.
What was his favorite food to eat?
Let's see. He loved steak because he put pats of butter on the steak. I do remember that. When we were in Singapore, Manila, he turned us on to a lot of good food over there. Wasn't much food Yoko didn't like.
No, I can imagine.
And Jack was on the menu all the time.
Oh, really? Even with Yoko?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I was telling him a story. Over in Europe, he would always buy a bottle of Jack from the bar at the hotel. It was like $70. He'd take the top off, throw it in the trash. So that meant nobody's leaving until the Jack's gone.
Is it true that Yokozuna ate a blue whale? Is that story true?
A what?
An entire blue whale.
I haven't heard that.
Mike wants to know, you said before you didn't wrestle Doink, but did you ever know Matt Bourne? Sorry, that you never wrestled that version of him, but
no.
Yeah, he seemed like a pretty interesting guy.
Yeah, that's what I hear.
You had the big feud with the LOD where there was titles exchanged. How did you like working with them, and how did you get along with those guys in the back?
We got along good. We actually hung out a lot with Hawk there towards the end. Sometimes it was like pulling teeth working with them, and anybody you ask would say that. But they were great people. Hawk even come to my hometown there when I was living in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. He had his wife or fiance at the time had some family there, so I even got to work out with Hawk there in Tennessee a couple times.
What got you into the whole Brawl for All situation, and do you regret being part of that?
I didn't want to do it because I just had sinus surgery. They talked me into it, so I didn't mind it for me. I didn't get knocked out. I actually won by points, but they wanted Bradshaw to get knocked out. The whole thing was against Bradshaw, and Vince Russo started it. So I didn't mind it. I made $5,000 that night in 10 minutes, so wasn't no hot off my ass.
I'm going to guess you didn't have time to train cardio for that or sharpen up on any boxing skills.
No.
What did you think of Bradshaw anyways? Some people say he was a bully, but I highly doubt he ever tried to bully you.
No, he would pick on some of the guys, but he knew who was true to the crew and, who was legit. We had some good matches with him and Barry. Had some fun times after the show. God, they were great to be around too. They didn't like drinking either.
Do you think in wrestling today there almost needs to be some behind the scenes people like Bradshaw? Because it seems like they're a bit sissies these days sometimes.
It's dull. It's soft. Even Undertaker said it's soft. I just think it's different. I mean, it's different crews.
Yeah, the that whole thing with Undertaker on Joe Rogan blew up there. As far as the Undertaker's retirement, how did you feel about being part of that ceremony?
Oh, that was awesome. I was actually, when I got the call, I was in Tennessee visiting my son, and Bruce Pritchard called and said, "Hey, how you doing?" I hadn't talked to him in a while, and I said, "Doing good." He goes, "Well, we're having this thing at Survivor Series for Undertaker's farewell, and he wants the BSK there." I said, "Okay, send me the ticket. I'm on my way."
What was it like? I know there was no fans there, but what was it like being backstage?
It felt good to be with all the boys. We had around. It's funny. There was 2 dressing rooms upstairs. The Clique ended up in one, and me and Phineas and Rikishi, Savio, and Godfather we were all together in one dressing room. But just to be with them guys and everybody. I mean, me and Hunter got to visit for like 35 minutes prior to the show, and it was good talking to him. But after the show, or before the show, the night before is when the BSK reunion took place, and I told on podcast earlier that it'd been 21 years since we'd all been together at one time. But man, we made up for 21 years that night. The manager of the bar said we killed 4 bottles of Jack and over 100 beers between like 8 of us. So Undertaker and Godfather had to put me and Phineas to bed. So it was a rough morning the next morning.
Yeah, I can imagine. Do you think this is going to be his real retirement, or the way things are going, do you think he's going to be offered something that he can't refuse again in another couple of years?
I could see that happening, and I could see him probably doing it.
How long have you been retired for?
Well, I left there in 2007, but I did some stuff. I just did some stuff with IWC in Elizabeth, Pennsylvania. But I think I'm done.
Yeah. Well, how did it go when they released you from WWE? Were you happy about it at that time because you were burnt out, or were you pissed?
Well, in 2007, and we were talking about this earlier, I left in 98 after I broke my neck. I lost my son and my youngest son in 2003. So things weren't good for me. But when I went back in 2006, it was not the same. Phineas wasn't there. Hillbilly wasn't around. Taker was there. But everything had changed. It was totally different. I felt out of sorts.
Why did they bring you back there and send you down to development?
I went down with Jody Hamilton in Georgia at the school down there for a while. But, they put me with Gordy's son, Ray Gordy. And it never clicked, you know. And then he did that rap thing after that, and we just never could get together.
Now, you always hear horror stories from that territory. What was your experience down there? I'm going to assume you didn't have to attend the classes.
No, just they just wanted me to get like the rust off and get back into it. And they had moved the school to Orlando, and my son went down there, and he was down there a year. But yeah, it was. I don't know. It changed so much.
There's a few people on here that want to know your opinion of Johnny Ace.
The real opinion?
Yes.
He's all right. He's Vince's right-hand man, and I don't know. I don't know how to take Johnny sometimes, but it is what it is.
Do you think the politics are worse now than when it was when you were there, or was it harder backstage when you were there?
Things were easy back in the day. I think it's a little bit more political now. It was easy back when we were doing things.
There wasn't writers writing everything out for you guys either back then.
No, we weren't babysitted. We actually had to think on our own, which I think helped a lot of us. But that's back to the BSK. You know, we would get together and talk over stuff, and the clique did. You know, they helped each other out, and BSK, we helped each other out. So it was nice having that support with top guys.
Mike wants to know if you have any Dennis Knight Road stories.
About a book that thick. Oh my God. I may have to think on that. Something I can tell. It's not X-rated.
He's a cook now, isn't he, or something like that?
He's a chef in Tampa, Clearwater area. He can make some good food. He knows what he's doing.
You were there for the famous Montreal Screwjob, weren't you? What was your thoughts on that?
That was pretty wild. I was standing in the hall when Bret walked by, and then all hell broke loose in the locker room. Davey Boy was involved, and Shane and Vince, and it was pretty ugly.
Did you consider taking the night off the next night?
I don't really remember what went on after that. But yeah, everything was, I mean, it was pretty screwed up there that night. A lot of angry people.
What do you think about what happened out of that? Ultimately, Bret came back. He made a fortune in WCW, and then came back a bunch of times to make even more money in WWE.
Bret's the man.
Yeah.
I always thought Bret was way up here, and a lot of respect. He was a lone wolf too. So we were in Germany one night, and me and Taker and Phineas walked into a bar, and lo and behold, there was Bret by himself. So we got to hang out with Bret that night, and that was the first time we really had hung out. It was awesome. Loved the whole family.
Did you ever wrestle Bret? And if so, how was it?
Yeah. And it was, I think it was, he used to call it the rubber mallets. He would lay it in, and of course I was brought up that way too. So it was a good tight match that night.
Yeah. What about Owen Hart? I guess you might have been there when he had his tragic fall, but how did you get along with him overall?
We worked him and Davy Boy so many times. We had so much fun, and on little shows like in Canada, we did some little shows, little arenas. Owen would walk out with a mouthful of water, and he wouldn't say nothing for a few minutes, and you'd be wrestling him, and he'd spit water in your face. And one night we were up there; it was snowing real bad. There was maybe 800 people there. He had took a banana and put down in his tights and come to the ring. I mean, just shit you're gonna laugh at, you know. And they were a treat to work with too. Davy Boy was fun to work with.
Did either of them ever play any ribs on you?
Uh, Not really. I've seen them do a lot of ribs. Uh, with shaving cream one night, we were in. I think it was the Garden, and Owen was getting everybody walking by, the staff, people working at the building. People were walking around. Everybody had white on them where he was squirting them. I mean, just crazy stuff like that. Uh, Before 9/11, we were flying around Canada, and Owen would actually get on the mic and act like a stewardess. But couldn't imagine it doing it today. That's why I said we'd all be in jail or out of a job today.
Dane wants to know if you have any Ray Trailer stories, the big boss man.
No, Tex would have them. They hung out more after I broke my neck. But he was a great guy too. Fun to be around. We went out a few times with him, but him and Tex, when he was doing the Midian stuff, they hung out a lot. But yeah, just sad what happened with Ray.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Is there any death that hit you the hardest in particular out of all your friends that have passed away?
Oh, Yoko was rough because I was just getting over the broken neck and I couldn't fly out to Cali, so Yoko was a hard one.
Ghoulies wants to know what was Sonny's reaction after being slopped and what was in the slop.
We talked about that earlier too. I'll tell that story real quick. When we got to the building that day, Vince come up and said, "Hey, we want to slop Sunny tonight." So I said, "Okay." We were all excited. That's going to be fun. So at TV, we got all this food catered to us. So that's where I would make my slop. Lettuce, ranch, bread, maybe some pasta. Fix it up nice. Well, I filled the bucket about half full. I take it in the locker room. I said, "Now, nobody mess with the slop. Sonny's getting this tonight." So I left. Went over, went over the match and all this. When I come back, well, what was this is now it's full to the top. I even had to pour a little bit out because I couldn't carry it to the ring. It was slopping around. So X-Pac and Razor and Dr. Tom, and T.O. Hopper, a.k.a. Uncle Cletus, had put some stuff in the bucket. I don't know exactly what it was, but Sunny got it. And she had the shorts on that night with the cowboy boots. And when he dumped that slop, her damn cowboy boots filled up with that stuff. And so it was a special slop.
Speaking of Uncle Cletus, I think that was the dirty white boy. How was it having him with you?
It was awesome. He was here tonight, so we got to hang out. He was perfect for our gimmick. And unfortunately, Vince Russo screwed all that up. So thanks, Vince Russo. But that's the reason we went to Southern Justice, because Vince Russo said hillbillies can't be tag team champions. So
you don't get along with Russo, I guess.
who does?
Yeah, everyone has different views of him these days, but at least when he was booking, it was better than it is now.
Yeah. Yeah.
The last few times I've tried to watch, there's been some pretty weird stuff going on.
Yeah, there's some weird shit going on.
Magical dolls that wink, and the audience isn't scared, but the people in the ring are scared. I don't know. Sorry, what were you going to say?
Makes no sense.
Barbara wants to know, did you ever party with Terry Funk or have any experiences with him?
Not really. I don't think I was ever involved in any of his matches that I can remember. Everything runs together anymore, but awesome guy to be around. We went out, we drank with him and ate with him, but that's about it. Funk was hardcore. Legit.
Tim Keel would like to know your thoughts on the New Age Outlaws.
Good. We were supposed to win the belts for a third time against Road Dogg and Billy Gunn, and of course I had the broken neck, and that would have been they were gonna drop the belts to us that night in September, but the office wanted me to go get my neck checked, and of course I had to have spinal fusion, so that sort of threw a wrench in everything.
The Bandit wants to know if you have any Ultimate Warrior stories because you were part of WWE when he was there.
Yes. When he came in, it was funny. He was real quiet and sort of backward. He would go find a little hole in the wall to dress, and he was usually by himself. He wanted to be by himself. So me and Phineas started finding where he was dressing, and Taker would ag us on. He said, go find where he's dressing. So me and Phineas would pile in with Ultimate Warrior. And he never really said that, and we got along okay, but I guess he thought we were weird for following him around.
That's funny. What did you think about when he, I guess, just started no-showing and then it all fell apart there when they had such high hopes for him?
Yeah, it would have been good. I don't know what happened there, but yeah, it's a shame it went down like that.
Chris wants to know if you have any stories about the Macho Man.
The only thing I have with him is we were in WCW, and we were with Wyndham and somebody else, but we were all at a place called the Landing Strip in Michigan, strip club.
Yeah.
And we all met up there. That's the first time I'd ever met Macho Man. Tex knew him before somehow, but yeah, Yoko was there that night with Macho. I think Taker was there, but we were still in WCW. But yeah, that's my only Macho story.
Okay. There's a few people that have asked, is it true X-Pac took a crap in the slop once?
I think he did. I think it was the Sunny slop. But I can tell you a true story about Germany with Sunny and X-Pac and Razor.
Oh, sure. We love
okay. We were over there, and she was being whiny on this tour. So when we wrestled in Germany, Europe, or where India, South Africa, we always had caterers that would make our food. So we were in Germany, and they were cooking the food, and we ate, and then you write on a lid what you want to take back to the hotel at night after the show, and you put your name on it. So we did that every night, and Sunny would always, we all did it. So Razor and X-Pac got her little pan of food that had the lid on it and had her name on it. So We go back to the hotel. She opens her thing of food, and it's spaghetti and chicken, and underneath is a turd. So she freaks out, runs down the hall screaming, crying to Briscoe. Briscoe sent her home the next day. So that's a neat little story.
Yeah, for sure. Derek wants to know the biggest difference between the WWE and WCW locker rooms.
More brotherhood in the WWF locker room. More of an opportunity up there. It was too political in WCW, and eventually it was their downfall. I mean, they were losing money. They weren't making money when we were there. But that's the first business that Ted and his dad got together. So, yeah, I felt better and comfortable up in with Vince.
Tim would like to know your thoughts on Sable.
Sable was fun to be around. She was a nice person. I was there the night she had the black hands on her breasts going out there. That was all it was covering with his little paper hands. But yeah, she was a good person. Liked Sable.
Screaming Baboon wants to know if you were there the night that D'Lo Brown and Ahmed Johnson had a backstage altercation, and what are your thoughts on Ahmed Johnson?
I remember that, but I wasn't. I don't think I was there at the time, or we had already left something. I remember hearing it, but Ahmed was, wow. He was another one that wouldn't listen. Did it his way. He did go out with us one night. Went out with the Hillbillies. We got him trashed, got him back to his room. He did like $450 worth of damage to his room, and we got the TV the next day, and he said, "I'm never fucking going out with you guys again." So that was our end of our Ahmed.
He's gained a lot of weight in recent years. I don't know if you've seen him lately, but he's seems to be like quite heavy these days.
I haven't seen him. I heard he was heavy, and of course, you know, he had the implants put in.
Oh, I didn't know that. Bicep
Yeah.
implants?
Yeah, tricep. Wow. Had the scars on both sides.
They really tried everything with him, but it just didn't work.
He wouldn't let it work. He wouldn't listen. It was his way or no way. And that ain't going to fly with Vince.
Tim Keel wants to know if you have any Jake the Snake stories.
Not too many good ones. I got a bad one I could tell.
Sure.
We were doing a thing in WWF. They bought Jake in. He was being an agent. Well, he was working and an agent. So they put him riding with me and Phineas. So we were starting to be late for TV. We'd go to his room. He'd been up all night, couldn't get him awake. Finally get him awake, get him a shower. So we start getting heat, or he gets heat because he's making us late for TV, and he's an agent and he's working. So in Dallas, the last time he rode with us, he asked Phineas if he could borrow the car. We flew out. He says, "I'll take your car back to the rental place that day." So me and Tex flew home. A week and a half later, I get this bill, $400 and some for a hotel room. Tex gets a bill for like $500 or $600 for a rental car. So Jake took my room and took Phineas's car and run Dallas for a week. doing his thing. We all know what his thing was. Thank God he's doing better now. God bless him. But I called the office and I said, told them what had happened, and they knew about it. And I said, so I want my money or we're going to beat Jake's ass at TV. And we never seen him again, and he got fired after that. So maybe that's what it took for him to get straightened out.
Yeah. And he's lucky he's got the AEW job now. So at least he's covered for the last part of his career. Somebody wants to know if you ever saw Haku get into a fight, and what are your thoughts on him?
I never seen Haku get in a fight, but I heard the stories. On, he's a legit mean cat.
I guess he would have been in WCW with you for a while when he was Ming.
He was for a little while, and then of course we got let go, But he was fun to be around. Him and Barbie were great. Yeah.
Do you have any social media or anything where people can follow you?
Just Instagram, Henry Godwin. I'm on Facebook, but Instagram's where I do most of the stuff.
Out of everyone in the business that you've met, and as a booker and a wrestler, who has had the best wrestling mind?
Hannibal.
I thought you had left.
That is where it ends. I know who doesn't have the best wrestling mind, and that is the man I'm looking at right now, Devin.
I'm the best villain in wrestling right now.
Yeah,
how could you say I don't have a great wrestling mind?
Yeah, well, you know what? I'm going to get the Blood Hunter, and we're going to come after you. We're going to Canada. How about that?
No, you know what? They're locking us down here again. It's going to protect me from that.
Yeah, and you know what? It's going to protect you from me. Adios.
What? What the hell?